Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. First thing is minutes of December 1 and 7, I think.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of December 1st and December 7th instead of December 3rd here.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just on the 7th, I know there's no clock in that room over there, but we actually didn't get out until 4:25. I don't know how accurate you want to be on the timing
Instead
of
of
it.
4:05.
Instead of 4:05, it was 4:25. And I know in the past, when Gordon's wrote minutes, he always writes Secretary Pro Tem. I don't know if you want to do that too on that one, just to be consistent.
Just so you know he's doing it.
That's right.
He's the writer.
Okay. Any more discussion?
We're changing that to 4:25.
Yeah, before 26, yeah.
Oh, executive would have stayed before. This was the one that we changed tonight.
No, because we didn't discuss anything after, so we got out 4:25 here, and then adjourned at 4:26.
26.
Okay, so it'd be about close to the same.
Yeah.
That's an interesting clock in there.
Yes.
Yeah, we take care of that in the new year.
In the town hall?
No,
In the
that
lunchroom.
room over
It's,
there.
yeah, a little bit
It's
off.
cute, it's nice.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Next is addition to the agenda. I have two. One is the bridge at Flat Rocks Road. Second is a council of government meeting update, meeting of December 10th. Any other additions?
No, I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Communications, I did get from the Council of Governments, and I think I emailed it to you. There will be a Northwestern Connecticut Economic Development Summit on January 26, 2016, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the White Barn at South Farms in Morris, Connecticut. It's downtown Morris. It's a place where they just renovated a series of barns into some small shops, businesses, agricultural projects. So there, did you get a copy of that?
Yeah.
There are a lot of groups that are presenting there. So I'm going to pass that out and make that known to the Economic Development Committee. And
What time is it?
that is at 6:30 to 8:30. And Gomer and York are going to be there. Northwestern Connect will be there. And there'll be the U.S. Department of Agriculture will be there. So a lot of resources, state Small Business Development Center, Northwestern Workforce Investment Board, Community Economic Development Fund, small business loans. So we will try to publicize this. So I can pass this around if people want to see it. Give it back would be good. So that's the one communication I had.
Did you write back to the 5th graders?
I did.
On that?
Yeah, I'm scheduled to go interact with them on Christopher Columbus in the first week of January.
Are you going to be Christopher Columbus?
I'm not going in costume. I'm not going to make any big claims about discovering anything important, but I will talk to 5th grade about their social studies.
Right. Did we receive a report back from OSHA? in the
No,
end?
we have not get that back.
Yeah, we got that back.
So I fully expect to be summoned to Weathersfield on Christmas Eve and see what happens. We have, the department did go over to Goshen, and they had a joint training on fire extinguishers and MSDS, which is now known as Globally Harmonized Hazardous Materials Reporting Systems. So we have done our training, and they have done most of the corrections, so we can take nice pictures whenever we get the OSHA letters back and have to do with that, so we're in pretty good shape. I think for now, we haven't done anything upstairs yet, but.
And Jim will come and train us sometime, right?
Right.
So you don't even know if we've been fined on anything, any violations or anything yet?
We haven't heard the final word. The inspector said he had to send it up to his bosses, and on our previous visits, we've been fined, so I assume we've been fined for something. The amounts, whatever, we'll find out. But I mean, this balcony hasn't changed in 100 years, but now it's a problem, so, but.
Right, I'm just
pleasant, you might-
interested to know what they came up with.
Right.
And then November 2nd, we wrote a letter back to the Housatonic Railroad Company that we were not in agreement with where they sprayed in the right-of-way, and what is their intention for the dead trees. Have we gotten anything back since then?
Since we got, there was something,
That's the last thing I have in mind.
when was the last one you got from them? I got something. Might be somewhere else. We've not heard back from November 2nd since their letter of October 6th. That's the last one we got.
Okay.
Any other communications? Any public comments? Okay. Next on our agenda is our category of big projects, which may not be the right word, might not be the right title, but anyway, this is things we've talked about in the new term, looking at some of the big things that we want to try to, projects we want to accomplish in the next couple of years, if not sooner. And I can go over the 10 that we talked about last time. We'll talk about these hopefully every month and just give you updates with those.
We're gonna call them long-term projects.
Long-term projects, good idea.
Because it may not be a big project, but it may take a long time to do.
Right. West Cornwall's sewer study already is the next thing on our agenda. We had a decent meeting, I think it was last week, with some updates from there. Economic development with Goldman, New York, summit's scheduled for February 5th and 6th and 9th here. That's still on, ready to go. We'll get more publicity about that next month. Social service inventory. We've been, we also have that on our agenda, but we have been interviewing candidates. I think we're up to our 4th interview. We've got a job description and hope to fill the position possibly next week. We have at least one more interview to do. Joint van with Goshen, so for selectmen, Valentine from Goshen said we're on track with that. We'll have to do some more work next month with that. He did say that he met with the Community Foundation and we may be eligible to fund our share of the grant from the Community Foundation, or part of it. And I did meet with Andrea Geisler to talk about social services from the Cornwall Foundation. He said they would be receptive to a grant application to help fund the senior van once we find out what Cornwall's unreimbursed share is. So there's a couple of potential funding sources for that. Tank and hydrant Cornwall Bridge, I have not heard back from the state on that. Burkhart property, there has been a couple of people expressing interest in the properties, so we hope to follow up on that. We have successfully resolved a couple of outstanding tax bills, and we're working on a couple more. West Cornwall Library and parking lot with HVA. I have a date with Mike from HVA next first week in January to talk about moving the parking lot forward in West Cornwall. And energy and building audits. We have Tom Wolf's almost finished up the windows, and then we will apply for reimbursement for the energy savings measures on the town office, and then try to schedule some audits for the remaining buildings in January. Bridges, I met with Roger, an engineering firm, about the Flat Rocks Bridge, which we'll talk about at the end of our agenda. Are there any other things we should be thinking about for long-term projects, or we'll knock some of those off before we get further? I did talk to Jen Marco of the food pantry, Janet Carlson, who does work on health insurance, and suggested that once we get a social service agent, we should maybe have a special meeting for people that are going to be involved with social services in the town, and just get everybody together in the same room and brainstorm and get some input on inventorying what we do and what we can do more of, ideas. So
Could they just do that on their own, just sort of a little networking get together?
They can.
kind of thing?
But that it might be a good opportunity after a couple of weeks to meet with everybody, get people together, because I know said that there's a lot of interest in what's going on in town. Any other long-term projects?
Pretty good list.
It's a good list. West Cornwall Septic. It's interesting, after meeting Wednesday night with Coleman in York, Malone and McBroom, there was another presentation also by Dave Murphy from Malone and McBroom at the Council of Governments meeting the next day in Goshen. So this came in under their schedule, which was talked about as Water Utility Coordinating Committee Planning Process for Western Connecticut, which is abbreviated into WUCC, WCC. So I didn't think that was going to be that interesting, but it actually was very pertinent to our discussion the previous night. Coincidentally, it's being worked by the Department of Health, and the Department of Public Health is the one that regulates public water drinking supplies in the state of Connecticut, and they are reorganizing their planning process for public water supplies from, looks like 7 districts into 3. Cornwall will be one of the towns in the western Connecticut WUCC, along with other towns from Greenwich to Heartland. And what was interesting about this was it was a planning group that's going to be convened in February. The communities would be represented by the Council of Government staff, but it will be an issue of the only issue that they're addressing is who provides public water if people are planning for expansion of public water supplies. So Malone and McBroom will do the convening and will be the staff engineering firm that will be working on this in Western Connecticut. They'll have monthly meetings for 2 years, and the whole idea is each community will come up with an exclusive service area, and this will be assigning a agency or group or company to expand service if there's new need for public water. And basically would be evaluating what's the most economical unit for supply. It doesn't control land use. It's interesting, they also handed out this map which shows little dots and blobs all over western Connecticut. You can see here Cornwall, actually the southern quarter of it is in the water supply watershed for the Waterbury-Chippewa Reservoir, which is actually in Warren. So Waterbury has some interest in what goes on here, but it does not regulate or change land use. That's still done by planning and zoning. There are other little public water supplies in Cornwall. Cougaman Village has a public water supply, anything more than 2 or 3 units. This area right here in Cornwall Village, of course, is right there, which is done by Aquarium, which used to be Bridgeport Hydraulic. And according to the state public health person there, Eric McPhee, who said he'd be available for a meeting. Doesn't get called out to many meetings, but he is available, and he said there is a process if a town feels there needs to be an expansion of public water supply. So an example would be this. The point of this whole process is if we are thinking that there may be a place in town that needs public water, such as West Cornwall expanded to, there is already a process in place where the town, the community would request Aquarian or somebody like that to come in and evaluate your area as far as the feasibility of expanding public water. So this is coincidentally going on the same time we're discussing this in town. So it's sort of interesting. Instead, there is a guy there from public health department that I hope to contact and just ask him what the process is and just tell him what we're doing. And he may know the person that we've talked to on the septic end of things in the state. So that's a bit of news.
So are some of these dots what is known as Cornwall Water Company?
There's one that's the Cornwall Water Company is down Cornwall Bridge.
Cornwall Water Company is right here.
Okay.
Cougaman.
But there's other places like Cougaman and maybe Bonnybrook where you have more than one dwelling unit.
I don't know what
That's
those two are right there. That calls it non-transient, non-community.
that may be like Cougaman or Bonnybrook or something where you have more than.
School.
Yeah, they're way up.
Well, I think that's West Cornwall right there. That's Cornwall Bridge. That's West Cornwall. So that'd be.
Yeah, what's that one?
Might be the school, maybe more than one well, maybe Mohawk, I don't know, there's a bunch of different potential places.
Is there 2 wells at the school?
Interesting.
Yeah,
That may be what it is then.
just transient, that would be a public facility, non-transient would be a residential place. So you get the same people coming all the time
Yeah.
as opposed to
Yeah.
wherever.
For the school would be a public place.
Right.
And the beach too.
Let's see.
Oh, the beach. They got them all marked, don't they?
Everything in there.
Let's see, I did meet with Roger and this company called Cardinal Engineering, who is doing engineering for, they're engineering 3 bridges for the town of Litchfield right now. And one of their engineers lives nearby Litchfield and bicycles around Cornwall, knows the town through a bicycle. So Roger's come out, and we'll talk about the bridge later, but while he was here talking about the bridge, I got their pamphlet which said they do general engineering, and they've just completed a $4 million septic expansion for the town of Deep River, which is on the Connecticut River. So he said that they are familiar with designing public sewer supplies, and would be glad to come and meet with any group that we had as far as what their feelings are, as far as what are some possibilities for West Cornwall. So another group, I think, after the meeting last week, I think we've heard from Malone and McBroom, and I think where we're sort of at is appointing a committee tonight, meeting next month with the committee, charting our way forward. I thought Malone and McBroom had some good steps there. And then we would ask groups, ask several engineering firms for a request for proposals, see what they can do, lay out some alternatives in a preliminary way. What became clear to me also is I think one of the functions of the group would be to survey the 57 potential places that might need or request some sort of service, and see gauge at some point what the interest is in West Cornwall, where there is interest in doing a sewer or water expansion. That's something that will need to be done at some point, and that seems like that might help us define the problem or what we're looking at. There's some people that talk to me, said they're not interested at this point if it's going to cost them extra money. And if there are some people that are definitely interested, so if we can sort of work on getting more information as far as what the scope of the issue is. It may be just the main street and Railroad Street, or it may go down River Road or whatever, but we might be able to do some legwork here and help whatever engineering firm town proposes to hire sharpen the scope of what we're doing. Just a thought.
So would that be part of the charge then of, I think we voted on it.
We did vote on that, and I'm not saying we need to change the charge for
No,
that.
I'm not-
Just one thing that came up to me was,
I don't think
there was a variety of opinions expressed, and it'd be good to find out.
what they actually are.
What
I mean,
they
no, it
are,
does say, it
as
says
well as,
to examine, with assistance of Goma, New York, and Torrington Area Health, the current limitations, blah, blah, blah. Also to advise the board of selectmen in the town on practical improvement alternatives. Yeah, so part of that would be to
Right.
make an inventory as to who's interested in moving forward, or just who's interested, if
So
possible.
that'll be done by the committee in Goma, New York, not the engineering firm that's hired.
Oh.
Right, that's part of their charge in Goma, New York.
Yeah, I think,
You know
I
what
would
I
think
mean?
it's I would
think
think
there's
that one of the
legwork, right?
answers would be that, yeah, I'm interested, but it depends at what cost. Or maybe I'm not interested at any cost. There'd be the I'm not interested at any cost, and then,
Or I'm very interested, or I want water, or I want sewer and water. Because I think also we can ask the guy from the state, if the town develops a system, does everybody have to hook into the system, or how does that all work? So
Right.
there's a lot of preliminary work that we don't know the answers to at this point that the committee could wade through.
Right, but I'm saying, so that's something the committee's gonna work on,
Uh-huh.
not something we're gonna pay an engineering firm to work on. Right,
yeah, more or less, yeah.
Right. I think it's doable, it's not professional, but it would get us farther along from where we are now. Okay. So, any other thoughts on that? The thing we talked about, we had, I think I counted correctly, we've got 9 people that has expressed an interest to be on this committee.
can you list them all off?
I can list them off. Josh Tyson, Priscilla Pavel, Todd Piker, David Linsky, Richard Griggs, Joanne Watershak, Ian Ingersoll, Jack Preston, Libby Mitchell.
How many do we want?
Well, that's a good question. Get 9?
I have 9, yeah. That was the one I couldn't remember. that what you had?
Yeah, you got 9, yeah. Right, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer to how many we want. It would be easier if we only had 5 people that wanted to be on it, in some ways.
So, here's a question. We have not, if you make a committee, a study group,
Yeah,
we create a study group and we initially put on, 5 people.
right, yeah,
Then 3 is a quorum, then they can function with 5 people,
right,
and then somebody chooses to resign, or they move.
right,
Well, this committee doesn't have to be residents specifically,
right,
I don't think we're requiring a residency.
right,
We'd need to come up with somebody else to be on the committee. So if we have 7 members on it, I'm just saying if we end up with lots of members on it, if we put all 9 members on the committee, which isn't specifically a bad idea, what happens if somebody resigns or moves or is no longer on the board, or no longer on the study group, then I think we need to replace them, don't we, because we've made it a
Good,
9-member
we can
board.
shrink the committee down to 8.
Or then we have a smaller committee,
Right.
or someone else will step up.
Or we
And,
could
never
make a
seem to have
small-
a problem
We
with
could shrink
that.
the committee.
We could shrink the committee, okay, well, there's a
Right.
solution, okay. I'm just trying to
Right.
think of all the, we could, because this is a study group that's being created.
It's an ad hoc study group that we're creating, it doesn't have any, it has advisory powers only to what we have given it in that charge. It just is not authorized to do anything, it's not a water pollution control authority the way.
This is not an ordinance, this is not a creation of the town and the town meeting.
Right.
This is a creation
have
by
any-
the selectmen.
Doesn't have any statutory authority, can't go out and start taxing people to put in a septic system.
Can't require
That would
things.
take, yeah,
Okay,
How many people are on the 275th committee?
quite a few, 10? 10?
Eight,
I don't know, 8, 10?
Or a few, yeah, at least
There were a
8.
lot, there's probably 10, 9, 10. Something like that.
because I'm just throwing things out there.
Yeah,
The study group, it's on our long-term project list. This will not be resolved in the year 2015. This study group will still be going in the year 2016. Well, it won't, 2017. It may be working its way around and so it's a long-term project and it's a study group that will need energy to move forward.
so in committees, sometimes I like, the Board of Selectmen on one hand is probably the smallest town committee, we have 3 members. It's good that we only have 3 members because we have to make so many decisions. Some of the other boards that are bigger are more, I won't say advisory, but deliberative, that you try to get more perspectives, more discussion before the town in that board decides. In this group is more, we'll have to make decisions, but it's more, at this point, studying, getting input. I'd like, as I said from the start, I'd rather have a variety of people on there. Eventually, the issue, in order to move forward, it's gonna have to get the consensus approval of people in West Cornwall. If there's a lot of opposition to what happens in West Cornwall, then it's gonna be hard to get it through the whole town if town meeting or something is required. So I think there's a certain argument to be made to make this committee larger than smaller. does, I don't see a whole lot of chatterboxes on here. The bad part about a big committee is everybody wants to put in their 2 cents. It takes a lot to get, to hear from everybody, but that is part of the function, is to bring different perspectives. It's a very new idea. It needs a lot of refinement, a lot of research, a lot of input. I find that often, even though it takes time, hearing different perspectives often can make make a thing better.
In this group, the people that are here, the only, I think, Priscilla's the only person that actually is on Main Street and lives in town. And there's a number of people that have properties on Main Street, that live outside of town.
She doesn't own a property though on Main Street.
Right, she works there.
She's involved in a property. I'm just stating what you know, Todd, Ian, Richard, and Libby all have property on Main Street and then live outside of town. Dave is out of town, Josh is out of town, Joanna's out of town, and Jack's kind of unique. I think he lives on the other side of the river and has property, and he has property in Cornwall.
Right.
So we sort of, a different blend. I'm just saying that there are a lot of people with combinations and several people out of town. It is an interesting blend. You know, in and out and in and out.
I thought that meeting was good that we had last week, and that we got information presented. Hopefully we learned something, and there was a bunch of questions asked that maybe brought us farther along. I wouldn't want to have a committee of 30 people. So.
Yeah, I think they're all great. I mean, if you think that 9 would be okay and not too big, I'm happy with that. If it's too big and you want to cut a couple, I mean, that just makes it, it's just difficult. So I love that people have come forward and volunteered, so.
Right, if you get a little bigger, then you also have an ability to accommodate if people go away for a while.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking too. Does anyone go away for the winter who is on other committees and is very busy? So you can just sort of get that balance if
Right.
somebody can do an every other meeting.
I don't know. At this point, I think everyone here has a bit of a different, there's some common perspectives and some different perspectives, there's different abilities. So, for lack of a better idea, I'd say we appoint them all to the committee and, you know, let it go. You know, I said it's not,
And lock the door.
lock the door, this is it.
Which side do you want to be on, Richard?
Right. And I assume we'll be showing up too, so, you know, from time to time, and we'll bring people in to discuss it, but I said at this point, I think we want to make it an inclusive process of people, we hear what people are saying early on, and that everyone feels that they can come participate, so there's not a whole series of opinions out there that we don't hear early on, or that people wait till the last minute, before a week before the town meeting or whatever, to say, oh, whatever. You know, I think having it sort of open from the start, I think, has some merit.
Do we need to actually specify a number of people for this study group, or can we just appoint the people that have, we do actually have to specify X number of people? Or do we just appoint the
I think we
people?
just appoint these 9 people and tell them all to stay healthy, and
Yeah, okay, yeah, I would agree that we don't have to specify the number of
Right.
people on the,
this is pretty, yeah.
yeah.
It's an important issue, but we're not gonna get, I mean, we haven't researched people's parties for minority representation, I assume we got.
Do you need to for a committee?
Yeah, probably, maybe, but there's enough independence on here that I think that's pretty well covered. We got people from both parties, so free and a lot of independent people, so I think we're covered with that, so. So I'll make that motion, and if anybody, well, I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Sure.
Second.
And that motion is to appoint these 9?
Those 9. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. So my thought is we'll call everybody up and try to get a meeting scheduled for early, an organizational meeting scheduled. I would like to think that when we notify people, it would be good to them to elect a chair and a secretary. It will be, the meetings have to be posted, they will be public, minutes kept, minutes put online, all that good stuff. So the people want to watch it from or learn about it, they don't have to go to every meeting, but it will be public and it will be minutes recorded and actions taken, all that stuff. And so have a meeting early January to figure out a way forward and take it from there. Okay? Good.
The needle has moved.
Right.
One more step.
Okay. Next is appointments. Kimberly Sullivan to the Northwest Regional Mental Health Board. We've got a nice letter from her. I did talk to Earl Brecker, who knows her and recommends her. She's got several certificates of achievement. So I'll make a motion we appoint her.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Solarize Connecticut, I've sent you some things from Kate Freigang about, this is a state program that seeks to aggregate homeowners for installing solar systems. The town agrees to do this, and then they do a lot of publicity to try to drum up business, and then they have improved installers that would then be eligible to install systems. There is apparently some tax credits that run out end of this year, so they think this is a good year to push it. The one thing I did hear from Ray Firth, who is Litchfield Hill Solar, who's partnered with Jamie Laporta, who said that they are not part of this program. They have not, they're not an approved installer under the program. They are licensed and have installed a lot of systems in town, including the one right here. And his concern was that this could make it so that an out-of-town company gets an advantage with their purchasing power, but they would probably be able to meet any offer these guys come up with. So there's apparently another side of this which isn't in the literature.
Well, it looks like we would be endorsing just this one company, Smart Power.
Well, we'll have to go with that. I think that actually Smart Power may be an advocacy group. I'm not sure they actually do. I'm not sure they actually do the installations. But anyway, I didn't expect a decision tonight, but I wanted to bring this up as something that Kate has suggested we look at. And maybe we put it on our project list.
In the last couple of months, we've approved something from Solarize Connecticut. Wasn't there something that we did or was that about the
No,
town?
we had to.
That's
get
a
our-
Bright
their
Ideas.
Grant, the Bright Ideas grant, to get that $5,000 from the Bright Ideas.
Okay, that's
grant.
right, that's right.
And there's another energy audit program.
Right.
We haven't.
This says the town will assist Smart Power in selecting a solar installer to provide residents with quotes for reduced pricing.
So anyway, something to research, look into. I mean, all in favor of more solar installations. If we can get it, it's all. I mean, the only thing I'm not. The only thing that came up to me was I'm not sure. I mean, without some research, I mean, it sounds like the town is encouraging or people to go to certain companies, so unless we're really happy, we know a lot about that company. And again, we're happy. We know our system works well. Then we're saying this company for something else is who you should go with.
Well, if we're signing up to approve what you're saying is if we're signing up to approve somebody else, we ought to know who we're approving.
Correct.
Yeah, is there a list somewhere of the companies, something like that? Is it on that website?
Yeah, I think. I think you start with the Connecticut Green Bank, and then Solarize Connecticut is a franchise of the Connecticut Green Bank. And Kate might have a list of that. And then Smart Power, I want to say that Smart Power may be a division or some sort of part of Eversource. Somehow they're, I don't think actually Smart Power does the installations. But anyway, it's something we can, and I'm going to, we'll dig up more.
Thanks.
Okay, anything more on that? I just thought I'd put it out there for our consideration and add it to our list of things to do.
So during that noisy interlude, Gordon was just saying we're going to research Connecticut Green Bank, Solarize Connecticut, and the Smart Power company, which he thinks might be a division of Eversource.
Mike? Okay. Next is Social Service Director. We have interviewed, we've gotten about 10 calls, people are interested in the job. We've interviewed 4 people. We have at least one more interview to do next week. We would hope to appoint somebody soon afterwards. Talked to Jill about having a reception for her, thanking her for her 32 years of service. A good mutually agreed upon time is Sunday, January 10th from 2 to 3:30. That's a Sunday. And we'd have light refreshments here. So,
Good idea.
and we plan to meet, we're going to meet on Monday again for our next interview and session on that. Anything else on Social Service Director? Additions, Flat Rocks Bridge. Roger's working towards getting proposals from engineering firms on doing engineering for the replacement of Flat Rocks Bridge. We have done some geotechnical work on both that area and the area around the bridge at the gravel bank. They found that it is a strewn boulder subsoil, standard for Cornwall, and that would allow us to do a spread footing and a precast bridge installment. So the plan is to go with a concrete as opposed to a steel bridge. Steel seems to not last anywhere near as long as our concrete bridges. There are companies that prefabricate, pre-engineer. It's like a modular house, but it's a bridge. Cuts down some of the expense. So what we'd be looking for is we've got some of the geotechnical soil surveys, so this engineer would do the necessary engineering work that would allow us to go out to bid to get a contractor to put in a prefabricated bridge in that location, Flat Rocks. And there's just some permitting, even with potentially with the Army Corps, DEP, we have to have the right dialogue and the right things to go through all their concerns. This is also uphill it's on our new map, this is uphill,
Right, reservoir.
upstream, this is the headwaters of the upper Chippewa Reservoir. So, anyway, so that's what we're going towards, is we're gonna solicit proposals from several engineering firms with expertise in this type of thing. As I said before, Cardinal is now replacing 3 bridges for Litchfield. So they seem to have a good reputation. We probably talked to Leonard, who's the town's used before, maybe even the 3rd firm, and get us to there with the idea of trying to go out to bid in the spring, find out what the prices are for summer construction.
What's the firm that did the Millbrook Bridge?
Mohawk Northeast, and the actual engineering firm is Malone and McBroom. Did some things, we might contact them also. Malone and McBroom did the initial engineering for that, and then Leonard did some of the subsequent shop drawings.
I mean, they're each gonna make their own design.
Somewhat, I mean, Roger has a catalog saying, we want this bridge to go there. What we want you to do is to say, how do we excavate the footings, how big the footings need to be, how do you put it there? In fact, the stress tests and the building, the weight capacities and everything else have already been determined by the company's engineers, and
Right.
they put in hundreds of these things.
By the drilling, the core.
By the drilling, but also the company that does the prefab has their own in-house thing saying, for a 20-foot span single lane bridge, here it is, here's my stamp. What we need to do is, now that we've got a stamped product, we have to fit it into our unique landscape
Right.
with all the other contingencies and details of a fairly good sized project. But anyway, that's coming along well, I think. So our goal is to get something out to bid and get numbers for, a spring town meeting. Okay? COG meeting on last Thursday was interesting. I've already told you more than you probably wanted to know about water utility control coordinating committees. David Murphy was also there, gave me a copy of our updated natural hazard mitigation plan. Not the other towns in eastern Litchfield County have not done those, so only one other town in the COG actually had received a grant. Because of that, the way we got the generator, and now FEMA, because that disaster period is closed, those grants are no longer available. So that was good to get that done in a timely fashion. We do need to review that annually, and we can put that on as a future agenda item. There's not major work that needs to be done on it, but we have to review it every year.
We have to review the
The hazard mitigation plan, see what we're doing.
Someone had to do some reporting on that though, right? Wasn't there a yearly?
Yeah, we have to notify
to be done on it?
somebody in Hartford that we've looked at it and bring it up to date. Also at the COG was a good presentation by Jessica Fowler from Sharon and Kim Maxwell, who is a electronics engineer from Norfolk, who work on this Connect program I gave you, and the Economic Development Committee, a summary of their work to date. Their goals are to,
You do?
did you get this thing? Okay, we'll get you things. It's interesting. It's
How do you pack it? You went with item E of the packet, you know?
Oh, what you sent, what he had, part of Gordon's package?
Mhm.
Okay, it's probably
Yeah.
under that, okay.
number E.
Number
If
E.
you haven't
Not
seen it,
separately.
here's a copy
Okay.
of the, let me see before I give it. A couple things they want to do. Their 3 goals are deploying distributed mobile antenna system to enhance mobile coverage everywhere in the 21 town region. So basically what they're talking about is some sort of small antenna system similar to what we talked about last month with Optimum, boosting microcells to enhance coverage. Their opinion is that the large towers are, there are few large towers that are going to be built in this area in the foreseeable future, and increased mobile phone service will probably be gained through smaller microcells.
Yeah, but wasn't there discussion on that when planning and zoning was talking about it, and those smaller towers emitted just like a lot more of the electromagnetic radiation than the bigger towers did? So
They
there was
might, I don't know, anyway, I'm just telling you.
problems with that version of the technology too?
I don't know, yeah, I'm just telling you what they're up to. Second thing is to bring a fiber optic network to every home and business in the Northeast. They talked a little bit about the state program. So far, municipalities are having a hard time agreeing on how the whole thing is going to be, how it's going to work. So,
Is that nutmeg network thing, or that's something
network,
different?
and there's a mega gig thing. They said to do this, anyway, the numbers are in here, but they're talking about to wire the whole 21 towns would be $350 million, which is real money.
How much was that?
That was $350 million.
Tell the companies.
4,000.
How much do you think they make a year?
$4,000 per home. So,
It's a lot of money.
it's a lot of money. But anyway, so they're working on it, and they will be available at this meeting again in end of January. It was interesting talking to Jessica. There's parts of Sharon, large parts of Sharon have no cable coverage, so they are not available for students to hook into
I
their
have the
cable
package,
system.
I can look at it.
So anyway, that's what they're doing. And so what the COG did was they have applied to the state for a small grant to help these folks move their studies forward. Okay? So, that was most of it. We did hear from Representative Craig Minor, who gives an update from the state. The state met in special session. They plugged this year's deficit, making some cuts without major impact to municipal budgets. And that's about it for the COG. A lot of things going on though. We did hear from Prime Time House. I'd like to have support fundraisers in each town this spring. So, various things going on. Okay. Public comments? Any public comments?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you, Gordon, on the Board of Selectmen for the tree takedown at Calhoun. So those 2 trees down have allowed us to protect, some of the oldest monuments in the cemetery that were endangered by them.
I'm glad you
Thank
got it. Chief Tree Warden Scoville said it was very tricky takedown because there was very little area in there to move his equipment around. But I think they did it without any damage to the stones, which is awesome. Good to get it done.
I also wanted to ask if you could please speak to the Economic Development Committee. They have not posted their minutes online for more than 6 months.
Huh.
And especially since, they're responsible for initiating things like the septic and whatever, and major things that are impacting the town. I think their minutes should be posted promptly.
Okay. Yeah, I believe they are recorded. They're just not posted on the website. Okay. Any other public comments from the back or from the press?
Now, just a question, who was the last person, the 9th one that you named on that committee?
That was Libby Mitchell.
Libby?
Libby Mitchell, yes, owner of the Pink Yellow House.
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing no other comments, we go into play bills and then go into executive session to talk about tax delinquencies.
That's
Okay,
it.
thank you, Richard.
Yep, sure.